Life in prison is supposed to be hard. The loss of liberty, the price paid by those who break the law. But when that life becomes so unbearable that a prisoner takes their own life, who's to blame? In France, prison suicide rates are almost double the European average. That's despite the launch of a plan by the French government in 2010 to combat the problem. Rama Zenati's brother Morad died after an overdose of psychotropic drugs while serving a 2-year sentence for marijuana possession. A claustrophobia sufferer, his downward spiral began quickly when he went to jail.
I went to see my brother in prison and I saw someone 1.9 meters tall, 120 kilos, in a wheelchair. Without being a doctor, I could tell there was a problem somewhere. The explanation given by the prison was that he was a manipulator who cried all the time, that we shouldn't worry, that next time we came he'd be alive. Until when? Until the day we came back and he was gone.
After the overdose, Morad was sent to hospital. Rama went to find him there.
So when I get there 2 days later, he's on a respirator having a seizure. There's a policeman and other people in the room. I go to the police officer and say, "Do you really think he's going to try to escape?" And then I realize there are other patients there as well. Above all, I can't stop looking at the respirator. He convulses again and he's still handcuffed. My brother couldn't bear incarceration. I'm telling you, he never took benzodiazepines or antidepressants at home. My brother was never a drug user until he was in prison. It's clear that the prison medical service gives out medication to make prisoners better withstand their incarceration. I went to collect his stuff. There were all these little bags, 10 or 15 Valiums, 10 Imavan with Xanax, a mixture of benzodiazepines, neuroleptics, antidepressants, sleeping pills, a real cocktail. Is all that not enough to be fatal for someone?
Rama believes there's not enough control over dangerous prescription drugs in prisons. We visit the Longness prison in northern France for an insight into how drugs are dispensed. Every inmate here is seen by a psychiatrist when they arrive. Those considered to be a suicide risk are given specific prescriptions every day. They have to take their pills in front of a nurse. For those inmates that require medication but are not considered a suicide risk, bags of drugs are dispensed to last them 3 days. But the pills may not stay in the same hands, as drugs are a major bargaining chip in prison, something to trade. Another risk is depressed inmates asking for more medication and then storing it up to overdose on later. 2015 was a worrying year at Longness for that. Psychiatric nurse Caroline Penet explains some of the reasons why.
In a little under a year, the doctors kept changing and changing.
They sometimes stayed only 2 weeks.
And there are some, less conscientious perhaps, who give out prescriptions more easily at the request of prisoners. If we could see the infirmary numbers at the time, I think we'd see that there was a greater influx. The prisoners were saying to each other, "See the doctor, he'll give you what you want, he'll make you what you want."
One inmate opens up to us about his concerns regarding what he sees as the growing number of mentally vulnerable people behind bars.
People who are mentally fragile. It's true that I've seen more and more of them in jail. That's how it is. We didn't used to see so many people like that, mentally fragile, and with certain types of crimes. They used to be in psychiatric hospitals. But it costs more to put someone in a psychiatric hospital than to send them to prison. So yes, I've seen more, and I believe there will be more and more.
If that's the case, then what's going wrong at state level? Psychiatrist Cyril Canetti says the whole mindset needs to change.
It makes me think that France is not doing well. We get rid of these sort of embarrassing people in prison without wanting to really see what's going on. And I think especially for the mentally ill, the number of which in prison has been rising rapidly because mental patients are being excluded from society. They're being regarded more as dangerous people rather than people who are suffering. So there's more of a tendency to send them to prison, which is not where they belong.
While some argue that mentally ill people don't belong behind bars, others say incarcerating them is acceptable as long as they're kept safe. Yet Rama's brother Morad had tried to take his own life several times before he died. The prison life too hard for him to bear.